The scout came back from the drop point at dusk with empty hands, and Huxley Sorn looked at those empty hands and felt the floor of the world tilt. "Nothing, Commander," the scout said. "I checked the mark stone and the two backups, swept the whole point twice. There's no message." "You're certain you had the right point?" "I'm certain it's the third time I've made this run." The scout hesitated. "That's 2 drops missed now, sir. Whatever schedule she's keeping, she's not keeping it." Sorn heard his own voice come out level, which was a small miracle he did not examine. "Noted, get food and rest. You'll run it again in 3 days." The scout went, and Sorn stood alone at the edge of the camp in the failing light, looking east at the black line of the interior, where the best soldier he had ever commanded, his closest friend, the one person in the world the dead could not sense, sent in alone to find the thing that was building an army of corpses in the deep country, had just gone silent. 2 drops, 16 days without a word. Read the schedule, not the silence, she had told him at the tree line the night he sent her in. "If I miss a drop, it means I changed route, not that I'm gone. You'll want it to mean I'm gone. Wait the full window." 1 missed drop was a changed route. He had held to that for 8 days and held to it honestly. 2 missed drops was still, technically, inside the window she had made him promise to wait. Technically, he stood in the dark doing arithmetic on the life of the person who mattered most to him in the world, and every version of the numbers came back wearing the same face, and the face said, "Something has gone wrong out there, and you cannot go and find out what." Here is the whole shape of Huxley Sorn's cage, so you understand what the silence was doing to him. He commanded the Iron Compact, the best independent fighting force on this coast, a unit he had built man by man over 20 years, bound to him by a loyalty that ran to Sorn himself and not to any flag. He had taken a contract to hold a tidewood cultivation site at the edge of the Dead Lands. The real reason for the contract was cover. The site was the closest defensible ground to the place he needed to insert Sybil into the interior. Her mission was to find the truth of the Hollow King, the thing organizing the dead, and come home. Her one protection was her nature. The dead cannot sense her kind. Any living soul sent after her would be a torch in the dark, sensed for miles, dead in days, and worse, a beacon that could drag the dead down onto her position and kill her too. Which meant the man with an army could not send one soldier to find her. Could not go himself. He was the most visible thing on this frontier, and the site would fall without him and 100 living people inside it. Could not even ask anyone for help because her mission did not officially exist. All he could do was hold the ground she was supposed to come home to, and read the empty drop points and wait. His people had watched him grip the camp tighter for 16 days, double-checked posts, watches he did not need to stand. His Lieutenant Halloran had finally said it to his face. "You're holding us too tight, Commander. You can't reach her, so you're reaching for everything else." He had known it was true when she said it. Knowing had helped for a while. Then the second drop came back empty, and the fear stopped being a thing he was managing and became the thing he lived inside. The night after the empty drop, the interior sent him something else to live inside. The largest assault the site had ever seen. It announced itself an hour after full dark, not the usual drift and press at the perimeter, but a sound under the ground, a pressure of numbers his forward posts started reporting in voices that climbed. The dead were coming out of the tree line along the whole eastern face at once. Hundreds, more than every previous attack combined. And they were coming in order, ranks, files, a front, which meant a hand was on them, which meant this was not weather. This was an operation. Sorn stood on the earthwork his people had raised over 3 weeks and watched the tree line disgorge an army. And the commander in him did the cold count, while the rest of him understood 2 things at once. The first, the Hollow King was done building quietly. Something had changed in the interior. This was no probe, no test, no displaced drift. This was a deliberate strike at a coastal operation, the first of its size anyone had seen. The thing out there was moving to the next phase of whatever it intended, and the site was in its path. The second thing arrived colder and more personal, and he put it away as fast as it came, because it had claws. Something had changed in the interior, and Sybil was in the interior, and her signals had stopped in the same window the enemy's whole posture changed. Commander Halloran beside him, reading the tree line. Orders. Full stand to, cultivators to the inner ring, reserve split here and here. His hand moved on the map without hesitation. Whatever else was true tonight, this part of him still worked. They've never come in ranks before. Someone is spending an army to take this ground. Let's find out what it costs them. The first wave hit the eastern earthwork like a sea taking a harbor wall, and the compact met it the way 20 years builds. The dead came up the slope in a front and died on the prepared ground, the cut channels that broke their footing, the stakes that held them while blades took the heads, the disciplined economy of soldiers who got everything right because getting anything wrong meant dying. Sorn moved along the line where the pressure peaked, reading the whole of it, killing where he stood. A dead thing came over the rampart at him, and he took its head in one stroke and was turning before it fell. The line held. The first wave broke and drained back into the dark. Then the second wave came, and it came differently, and Sorn's stomach tightened, because different meant the hand was thinking. Struck the seam between his eastern and southern faces, the join, the weakest point of any defense, and it struck in column instead of line, a ram of packed dead hitting one narrow point with all its weight. The seam bent. A knot of the dead came through onto the open ground inside, and for a minute the fight was inside the wire at close quarters, torchlight and screaming, and Sorn was in it. He put his shoulder into a dead thing to buy a soldier's life, took its head, called the reserve across with one word. The reserve came at a dead run and sealed the breach and killed everything inside it. The line held again. It cost 4 wounded and 1 dead, a veteran named Corse, 11 years in the compact, pulled down at the seam. In the lull, Sorn stood over the gap where Corse had died and did what he always did, the count, the adjustment, the next order. And under it, where no one could see, the other count ran without his permission. This is the hand she went to find. It is spending hundreds of bodies tonight like they cost nothing. And she is somewhere behind it, silent, 16 days. They brought Corse's body back from the seam between waves, and Sorn went to it, because he went to all of them always. And 11 years had earned Corse more than a passing commander's glance. He knelt by the body for the length of 10 breaths while the line was reset around him. Corse had come to the compact off a broken merchant crew, 29 years old and angry at everything, and Sorn had spent 2 years sanding the anger into edge and 9 more watching the man become one of the quiet spines of the unit, the kind who steadied the younger ones at the bad moments without being told. He had a woman in a port town south of here. The compact kept its records. Sorn would write the letter himself tonight before the memory of the man went formal. His people come home. 20 years that had been the whole of him, the principle under every plan, the thing that made the compact what it was. Tonight one of his had not come home, and one more was 17 days silent in the country this army had marched out of, and Huxley Sorn knelt in the torchlight between those two facts and let himself feel, for exactly 10 breaths, how much he hated the year this was becoming. Then he stood and gave the next order, because the third wave was coming, and grief was a debt the living paid after the walls held. The third wave came before midnight, and it was the largest, and it did not aim at the walls. It aimed at the water. The assault threw itself at the eastern face again, but Sorn, above the fight, reading the whole shape of it, saw what the weight of it was hiding. A second force, quiet, moving in the dark along the streambed north of the site, toward the head gates of the irrigation system. The channels were the site's blood. Wrecked the head gates and the seedlings died in a month no matter who held the walls. The whole screaming assault on the east was a magician's right hand. Halloran, he was already moving. The east is yours. Hold it exactly as it stands. Commit nothing north without my word. Where are you? North, 20 of the reserve. The rest is yours. He took 20 and ran through the dark camp to the head gates, and got there as the first of the quiet force came out of the streambed, and here, at last, the night gave Sorn something he could actually fight. The next minutes were close and vicious, and exactly the kind of problem he was built for. A narrow front at the gates, 20 picked veterans, and an enemy that had counted on arriving unopposed. The dead came out of the water, and the compact met them at the bank and held them in the shallows where their footing failed, and Sorn fought in the front of it, both hands, no waist, the cold quiet holding him above his own body. When the quiet force was spent and the streambed ran black and still, the headgate stood untouched. And out on the eastern face, as if a ledger somewhere had been balanced and closed, the great assault simply stopped, the hand releasing its dead, the ranks dissolving back into drift, the army becoming weather again and draining away into the dark it came from. The sight it held, all of it, against the largest assault ever recorded on this coast. Sorn stood at the headgates in the sudden ringing silence, soaked to the knees, and felt no victory at all. They burned the dead in the morning, there were too many for anything else, and the count came in. 1 dead, 11 wounded, the walls standing, the water safe, the seedlings untouched. By every measure a commander owns a great victory. Lyra Aldenmere would hear that her gambles survived an army. The compact had beaten the worst night of the war so far and would be prouder for it in a week, when the exhaustion faded. Sorn wrote the report and paid what it cost him, and then sat alone with the part no report would carry. The assault told him the Hollow King had moved to open war against the coast's operations. That was information the coast desperately needed, and it was also, privately, the worst news he had ever received, because it meant the interior Sybil walked through was no longer a country building in secret. It was a country mobilized, armies moving. A hand spending hundreds of dead in a single night on a patch of forest, and somewhere behind all of it, one silent operative, 16 days dark, 17 now. He went to the map, the way he had gone to it every night for 16 nights, and looked at the marked drop points, and did the thing that had become the hardest single discipline of his life. He did not order a search. He did not take a squad east. He did not do the thing that every fiber of the man wanted, because the arithmetic had not changed and she had made him say it out loud at the tree line, like she had known this exact night was coming. If I'm in trouble, the worst thing in the world you can do is come help. You built the plan, he said to the empty tent to her in the direction of the interior. You built it right, I'm holding the wall, but you are running out of window, Sybil, come home. The window she had made him promise to wait was 10 more days. He would wait it. He understood, sitting there, that waiting it was going to cost him more than the assault had, more than any fight he had ever stood in, because a fight asked everything of him, and the waiting asked the one thing he had never learned how to give, which was nothing. Doing nothing perfectly on purpose, while the person who mattered most was silent in a country that had just declared war. He banked the lamp and went out to walk the line, because the wall would not hold itself. And the sight stood and the coast slept behind it, and somewhere east in the mobilized dark the drop points waited, stone after stone after stone, with no marks on them at all.